Hello YouTubers, it is of course I, Trollface the Man, and welcome back to another video. In this video I'm going to show how to make these reusable resin glow sticks. There's a couple of different ways you can go about making these, but this is sort of a very simple method that I had found out and sort of just threw together. First thing is just having some type of clear plastic vial that can hold a liquid. The liquid being resin until it cures, of course, that you can pick up for cheap. This I found at a local dollar-esque store for $1.29 for 6 of them, and they're actually really good because they even have little loops on the top. The next thing we need is we just need some glow pigments. I find that these, you can find them pretty cheap on eBay. Many different colors, and if you use something like this UV laser on them, you're not going to be able to see this very well unless I turn off the lights. I'm going to turn off the lights. So now you'll be able to see that these glow after you use something like a bright light, like this UV laser or something on them. Some more than other, like that pink is not too impressive. The same thing goes with this UV glow stick that I end up making. You can also just use a bright, like this is just a white flashlight, to charge it up. So just a little time under a bright flashlight. Like I have this light right here. Charges up in a matter of seconds. Okay, so the process for this is super simple. All we are going to do is we're going to get some resin. That we can use. This can be just cheap store-bought resin, this can be casting resin, it can be whatever, just as long as you're using it appropriately sized for whatever vessel you are making these in, because some resins, if you cast them too thick, they can actually generate so much heat that they burn and warp and things like that. And for this I just have Clear Cast 7000. This used to be clear a couple of years ago. It has since discolored. Which it's not supposed to do if it's already set, but if you store it in an unset state like this, then it will potentially discolor like this. And this is a 1:1 by volume mix. So I'm just gonna do 1 part B and then 1 part A. Part A actually still is clear and is much more viscous. Now you might ask what these reusable glow sticks are for. I mean, they can just be for decoration or whatever, but I actually have been using one of these hung off my dog's collar to see him at night when I take him for night walks, because I usually walk him without a leash. And when he is, because he's mainly black, when he is in the dark, I cannot see him at all. So this little glow stick hanging off the collar helps with me being able to watch him. I'm just going to mix part A and B together, and then stir them up. It helps me spot him at night, but at the same time it can be used for, say, kids while they're trick-or-treating, or, you know, just out and about at night to kind of keep an eye on them. You can get better glow stick, or excuse me, better glow compound that lasts longer, that makes for a better glow stick. But it can be kind of tricky to find. This is just some cheap stuff from eBay, so it doesn't necessarily glow for a super long period of time, but it is very easy just to periodically charge back up with a flashlight or something, allowing for, you know, pretty much an infinite glow stick source. So now I'm just gonna stir this up for probably about 30 seconds, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna pour it from this container back into this container, stir it up again, pour it back, and then pour it back, just to assure that we have the maximum, basically, mixedness. Basically, to make sure it's mixed as best as possible, and that all the residue on the sides of the containers are all incorporated well into the main container, or excuse me, the main mix. It's been a really long time since I've done a video. Things are, again, always weird to try and get back into, and my thinking is always really bleh at first. Just trying to keep track of everything. Okay, so I mixed this for a little bit over 30 seconds. I'm now going to just pour it back into the other container as said, and then do some more mixing in order to, again, make sure that it is very well incorporated. The fact that this is yellowed a little bit actually means that this is pretty good to use this stuff for, because most things I'm not going to have used for a slightly yellowed resin, but because we're going to be adding this glow pigment in there anyways, it's going to hide the yellowing and just basically let me get another life out of this stuff, versus, again, I can't use it for any type of clear casting at this point. And again, this resin I think has it has about an hour work time, and I think it has a 24-hour cure time, so we have plenty of time to work with. But if you're going to be using a resin that cures in, say, 5 minutes, then obviously you would need to work much quicker. The least I would say have a 60-minute resin, but even still, a lot of those tend to only have a work time of about 10 or 15 minutes, so you would need to work relatively quickly. And this will be the last pour, and I'm just going to mix it a little bit more, and I would think we would have this resin about as mixed as it's possibly going to get. Resin always makes such a mess, at least for me, probably because I'm really bad at not making messes all over. And so now that I have my resin all mixed up, basically all I'm going to do is just take a little bit here and pour it off. Oops. And essentially just take, this is a container I used to mix up some stuff earlier, take our glow pigment and incorporate that in there and stir it up. By doing so, make a UV reactive resin. It is possible, definitely, that some resins might have issues with the UV powder and do weird things, so I can't guarantee that all resins will work great with the UV, but so far the ones I've tested have had no issues. And in the case of these vials, I literally just need to take the top off, I know it looks really weird from your camera angle, but anyways, take the top off and pour the resin into the vial. This one's going to be a little bit weak because I didn't have quite as much pigment as I would have liked to, but it should still work fine. You can see it's more translucent than I would like. Now, screw on the cap and let it cure. Preferably standing up, so that way you don't get any weird ear bubbles. Now, in the case of what I tried with some of these other ones I have here, you can see a little bit of a color showing through. This one is a solid resin with very strong pigment in it. These ones I actually took a vial like this, and then only filled it up a slight amount, and then pushed in a dowel cut to size, which squished up the sides, and basically allowed me to use significantly less resin, significantly less glow compound, and achieve a similar-ish sort of effect. But it's a little bit tricky to get right, and it still doesn't work as good unless you use a lot of glow pigment. Basically, you need to make it so opaque with the glow pigment that you can no longer see the dowel rods showing through, which I so far have struggled with, as it's hard to get stuff that pigmented. I still have a lot of this stuff left, but I actually am not really a fan of how thin it is, and I have so much here. I'm just going to incorporate this blue glow powder in right with it. and we're going to make a really strong blue glow powder. I mean, really strong here. And the other stuff will just help a little bit with the glow power. Hopefully, at least. These packets of glow powder are so cheap. Might as well. So, again, I'm just going to take a vial, set it down, and then pour the resin mix in there. A lot of air bubbles, which could be potentially fixed by simply giving it more time to sit and relax, or by mixing it slower, but because we're using a powdered pigment, the powdered pigments tend to end up having a lot of air bubbles incorporated into them. And seeing as I have a pretty thick mix of pigment here, I'll show you what I mean about the dowel rod. So I'm just going to take a dowel rod. That's how you pronounce it, right? Dowel rod. And get a height that's approximately that. In this case, I'm just using some heavy-duty scissors that do have some saw-like teeth on them to cut off this segment. It should be low enough to fit. And then again, all I need to do is just pour a lot less than I had in there. Just a fraction of what I had, that should probably be enough. And then take the rod and then push it down inside of the vial and have it push up the sides. Well, even with how much I put in there, you can still see it kind of showing through a bit. But this is the concept, that if you get it pigmented enough, you can pretty much just use a filler like that to save on the amount of pigment that you're going to use, and also the amount of epoxy you're going to use. That one didn't turn out great. Oh well. Trial and failure. Perhaps somebody can manage to improve on the design, because again, you can see that that's a little bit too close to the side and not pigmented enough to form truly opaque sort of color. For fun, let's incorporate more than one color into a glow stick. You got other color packets here. Maybe mix up some orange. Pour that right in on top. And then maybe if we take something like a popsicle stick and we stick it down in there. Maybe that didn't work as well as I thought it might. Ugh, it's quite a mess. I was hoping to get a swirl or something, but instead I have a ginormous mess. Making all the mistakes so you might not have to. Actually, I mean, that might be okay. I don't know. Top it off with a little bit more resin though. So I'm just going to make a couple more of these, same process. Okay, we are back. What was supposed to be a couple of days ended up turning out to be several months. A lot has occurred. Anyways, these have now been fully cured. I pretty much just rubber banded them together and had them standing up during the curing process. Ooh, okay, they're all just going to roll away. I was able to get quite a few out of just that one cup of resin we end up using. The resin is more than hard. As you can see, this is one of the cups that end up using, and this is the resin here. Yeah, very, very solid. And end up getting a lot of them. As you can see, these are some of the mixed color ones. They didn't turn out too bad. I probably could have gone a little bit crazier if I wanted to, but yeah. So, to show that these all work fairly well, I have a UV floodlight here, and if I just blast them for a matter of a few seconds, you can see that they're charged and glowing. Maybe not with this brightness of the room. Let me turn off the lights. There we go. As you can see, they glow pretty good. You can see dark spots on some of them as they've been moved around. That's just because that's the sides that weren't exposed to UV. So I'm just going to charge those all the way real quick by just kind of turn down the exposure here. So I'm just going to charge them real quick on both sides, so that way we can make sure that everything is nice and evenly illuminated. That should probably be good. So you can see this is one that had a dowel rod in it. This side illuminates pretty good, but you can see kind of where the rod was poking through a little bit. The same with this one, another one that ended up shoving the dowel rod in there to conserve resin. The one side, it kind of shows through a little bit. And to be honest, if you had painted the wood first, like a white, it would do a better job of reflecting the excess light out instead of absorbing it, so that wouldn't be as noticeable. But yeah, reusable resin glow sticks, and these can be recharged potentially thousands of times over the course of years versus a regular glow stick that might only, last one time for a few hours. Now keep in mind, you do need to recharge these more often, because though you might get an hour or two use out of one of them per charge, maybe longer if you use a better UV reactive glow-in-the-dark pigment. But in general, these will need to be recharged more often. Again though, you can actually just carry around a UV light and hit them when you need to recharge them whenever. But yeah, I thought this was a pretty cool project, just something that was very easy to do. I had my own personal interest in, and I will actually work on making a few other rechargeable glow sticks using different methods than just this. I have a couple of future planned videos for that, but yeah, I'm very happy with how these turned out. I thank you guys very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to leave a like, to subscribe if you haven't already, and drop me a comment if you feel like it. I appreciate it. I also would like to thank my Patreon supporters for their support in buying materials used for this video and for other videos, and continued support, even though I've been a little bit lacking on videos lately for many reasons. I apologize for that, but I do appreciate it. Thank you guys very much for watching, and bye! One other thing I wanted to point out with these is that you can actually use them as light sources and stuff to read or to see things in the dark, which means that they're actually good for camping, especially when your eyes have a chance to adjust to the darkness, of night, that you can have some of these set out in the day collecting the sunlight, and then at night you have these very faint but still usable light sources that you can use to read or to do things in the dark with. So yeah, just figured I would say that too.